stay free at Best Westerns worldwide. Best Western, the world's largest hotel chain. Visit bestwestern.com.
Have you heard about the neighborhood? Where you can get local and long distance together for one low monthly price. Where your calling is unlimited, around town and across the country. Where voicemail and caller ID are included at no extra charge. The neighborhood, built by MCI. Where you can talk as long as you want, as often as you want, for one low monthly price.
Call 1-800-JOIN-MCI today and get unlimited local and long distance together.
Tonight at 8 p.m., brace yourself for Storm Stories. A flight for survival.
She was a little baby that was dying.
Crashes in a blizzard.
You can feel the loss of power.
Can this baby's life be saved? Plus, see how a Rocky Mountain blizzard turns a relaxing trip
I knew that we were losing altitude
into a life and death situation. Watch a new series from the Weather Channel. Storm Stories, tonight at 8 Eastern and Pacific.
On May the 23rd, 2000, at 11:30 in the morning, in the 4800 block of Brownsboro Road, a bank was robbed. A male entered the bank, jumped over the counter, and removed money. Upon exiting the bank, the robber entered a 95 or 96 Ford Thunderbird, maroon or dark red in color. The vehicle did not have a license plate. The vehicle possibly has damage to the bumpers or undercarriage. Wanted is a white male in his 20s, 6 foot tall, medium to heavy build with dark hair. Call 582-CLUE, 582-2583.
It's our annual Summer Tent Sale at Kentuckiana's undisputed #1 Dodge dealer, Commonwealth Dodge. Save thousands on this area's largest selection of new Dodges, all priced at invoice. Plus, you keep the rebate or apply it to your down payment. Trade in your old Dodge Caravan on a new Caravan and get an additional $1,500 cash back exclusively from Commonwealth Dodge. Don't miss the savings at the annual Summer Tent Sale at your undisputed #1 Dodge dealer, Commonwealth Dodge.
Storm Stories, tonight at 8 on the Weather Channel. And now, here's your local on the 8s. Currently, the temperature is 78 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. Your forecast. On Wednesday, we'll have temperatures in the high 70s with scattered showers. Expect fair skies on Thursday and Friday.
Thanks for joining us for the Tropical Update. I'm Christina Abernathy. We'll take a look at some stormy weather across the country coming up in just a moment. But first, we're joined by our hurricane expert, Dr. Steve Lyons. And Dr. Steve, earlier today we were watching Tropical Depression 6. It's now a tropical wave. Why did we see that happen instead of a tropical depression to a tropical storm?
Good question, Christina, and the answer is in the upper part of the atmosphere. Let's look at the water vapor imagery out there where we had our tropical low-pressure center. Just to get your bearings, here's Ford up here, here's Cuba, and here are the Windward Islands out here. We had a low-pressure center here moving very quickly to the west, but in the upper atmosphere we had a very vigorous upper-level low-pressure system, and the winds are from the west-southwest right over the system. And notice this bow-shaped feature right here, just standing the system up right on its side and just making it a wave that's coming through the island. So what we have left now, some gusty winds and some showers tonight. There you can see the latest wind observations at some of the locations, gusting to 28 miles per hour to French Buoy out here. That's Meteo France's buoy out ahead of the islands. Over the islands down to the south, not too bad, but expect some some brief passing showers, about 3 to 6 hours worth, and some strong winds within those showers. But other than that, we don't expect much from this the next 24 hours. Now there it is right there, that little cluster of mid-cloud, basically, in a few showers. It's been moving off to the west, west-northwest, so we expect it to go just south of Puerto Rico, continue on toward Jamaica over the next several days, and generally toward the Yucatan Peninsula. We don't see any favorable conditions for it over the next 48 hours, but we're going to monitor it for you just to make sure it doesn't have any chance to redevelop here soon. Meantime, nothing else going on in the Atlantic. Look at that. Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean, wonderful weather if you're heading that way. Nothing to worry about. But what about the Western Pacific? We've got a super typhoon out there. This is a super typhoon that's just about ready to hit the northern Philippines. Cape Inganyo, which is right up here, is right in the worst possible position. Waves 35 to 40 feet, my best estimation right now. Winds near the eye wall around 150 miles per hour. And some of those waves are pushing up toward Taiwan. So very, very careful if you're in Taiwan, even though the circulation will move south of you. Deadly surf and deadly winds and rainfall over the northern island of Luzon. In the meantime, we have another typhoon, more a Category 1 variety, moving over Hanoi in Vietnam and producing some very heavy rain there, so watch out for flooding. In the meantime, a little bit closer to home in the eastern Pacific, we've been monitoring our tropical storm Felicia, now down to tropical depression, moving to the west at 16 miles per hour, winds down to 35. You look at this system, here it is right here, basically moving over a much more stable environment. You can see these stable stratocumulus clouds out in here. No impacts to Baja, no waves for surfers in Southern California, sorry about that. Still looking for that big wave action from a hurricane this year, guys. Can't find it yet. Let's get back to severe weather now with Christina.
All right, hurricane expert Dr. Steve Lyons, thanks for the update. Now let's take a look at what's going on with our severe weather in the U.S. And we have a lot of stormy weather to talk about. You can see the severe weather watches in effect, severe thunderstorm watches in yellow, and a tornado watch in the plains in red. And we've been watching some pretty nasty storms moving through the northeast. Some of these are not so far away from Philadelphia and New York City. You can see that line of thunderstorms headed in your way. We're also watching some storms farther northward that extend up through New York State, so watch out Glens Falls, Albany. This is all headed in your direction. Then we have some tornado warnings to tell you about in northwestern Pennsylvania, Mercer County, and in Ohio. Stark County is under a tornado warning, as well as Trumbull County in northeastern Ohio. Take cover immediately in these areas and stay with us.
The new Impala SS. With one nasty supercharged engine. When you need the power,
What?
or not, we'll be there. Chevy.
You squeeze, squeeze, and squeeze, but all your scissors do is freeze. Now your cut looks a mess and your hands have aches and pains. Not anymore. Introducing cordless smart scissors by Singer, the fast, easy, and pain-free way to cut almost anything. Smart scissors are lightweight, fit comfortably in your right or left hand, and power through the thickest task with ease. Watch. Quickly cut stacks of coupons for huge savings. Easily glide through 2 layers of tough denim for a pair of shorts. Or follow a curved pattern on thick quilting with precision and speed. Smart Scissors even cuts hard leather without getting stuck in the cut. Just slide the safety switch on, then simply press down the handle, and 2 sharp stainless steel blades automatically cut at super high speeds. Gently let up, and they stop on their own. Whether it's vinyl, satin, corduroy, or velvet, Smart Scissors cuts them all. Watch out! Regular scissors can pop this balloon, but not Smart Scissors. The cutting blades are safely tucked in, making them ideal for the entire family. They're perfect for gift wrapping, scrapbooking, and sheets of school pictures. Take them outside for patio carpet or garden cover. Plus, they can be powered by your AC outlets. Stop squeezing and freezing in the cut. Call now and receive your cordless Smart Scissors by Singer for just $19.95. But wait, there's more. We'll also include this Singer fabric shaver. Now easily remove fuzz balls from your wool sweaters or dangling threads from your entire wardrobe. Yours free, and you'll love this. Call right now and we'll give you a second Smart Scissors to share with your family absolutely free. Smart Scissors are made for a lifetime of use because they carry the Singer name. And if you're not completely satisfied, return it for a full refund of the purchase price. But keep the fabric shaver as our gift. This incredible TV offer is all yours for just $19.95. So call now.
Call 1-800-670-9559 and order the Singer Smart Scissors for $19.95. This incredible offer won't last, so call now 1-800-670-9559.
Tonight on the Weather Channel at 8 Eastern, a new series, Storm Stories, followed by Evening Edition at 9. Then at 11, a Storm Stories Encore.
The Weather Channel is brought to you by this cable or satellite provider. You can also get reliable forecasts from the Weather Channel through this radio station or newspaper.
Storm Stories is next, right after your local on the 8s, here on the Weather Channel. Currently in your area, 77 degrees with a thunderstorm. Forecast for your area. Your extended forecast.
We interrupt this programming for a live weather update from the Weather Channel.
A lot of stormy weather to talk about this evening. Severe thunderstorm watches in yellow, a tornado watch in red. We'll start out in the northeast where we've seen some pretty nasty storms moving through New York and Pennsylvania. Right now we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect in New York, in Orange, Ulster, and Greene counties. So watch out as these storms move through parts of New York and Pennsylvania where we have warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings that is, for Berks, Lehigh, Northampton counties, as well as back into Lancaster County. So a lot going on here. You can see this line of storms and not far away from Philly or New York, and then we head farther northward, and again, Ulster, Greene County, Orange County tornado warnings are actually severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect. We have a tornado warning as we head back into Mercer County in Pennsylvania. We're seeing more stormy weather back into Ohio. Stay with us.
I'm thinking it must be a pretty sick kid to go out in this kind of weather.
She didn't respond. She didn't talk. She was very ill.
The right engine flamed out or essentially quit running.
At night in the mountains in Colorado in a storm, one of the worst storms of the year.
He said that he was having some problems and that he might need to declare an in-flight emergency.
That's when he and I looked at each other and said, we're not going to make it. We're dead.
From the Weather Channel, this is Storm Stories with meteorologist Jim Cantore.
February 13th, 1992. It's a strange afternoon at St. Mary's Hospital in Grand Junction, Colorado. 28-year-old Jack Barr, a local youth pastor, and his wife Patty are outside the operating room. They brought in their 2-year-old daughter Samantha for what appeared to be a lingering cold. Now they're looking at a puzzling x-ray, astonished at what they see in the toddler's neck.
I wanted to know what that was immediately because I knew, that wasn't normal. And they said, well, does she have a necklace on? And I said, no, she doesn't have a necklace on. And that's when we found out that there was a foreign object.
Doctors believe the object is a coin that Samantha swallowed as many as 6 months ago. The toddler's cold symptoms are part of her body's effort to expel the toxic metal. Now an infection is developing around her heart.
They rustled it around in her chest a little bit to the point where the toxins from the coin itself went into her chest and it spiked a fever.
Saving Samantha will require a surgical procedure called a bronchoscopy, but doctors at St. Mary's don't have the proper equipment.
She deteriorated real significantly that night and got much more ill, so they felt that it was an emergent situation that she needed to go to Denver immediately to the Children's Hospital there.
Driving the 250 miles to Denver will take more than 4 hours, but flying will take only 50 minutes. Teresa Bagshaw springs into action, arranging emergency transport by air. The 42-year-old chief flight nurse for St. Mary's Air Life Team usually flies by helicopter. But this evening, a major upper-level storm system is moving in from the west, creating a big problem.
My husband, Bob, was the pilot on the helicopter that night, and he turned it down for weather. He said there was no way.
The only option is a fixed-wing airplane designed for severe weather. Teresa phones the pilot. Then she pages Brad Brown, the paramedic on call. 27-year-old Brad is at home enjoying a quiet pre-Valentine's dinner with his wife Angie and 3-year-old son.
I looked outside, I'm like, there's no way, it's starting to snow. So I called in and talked to Teresa, who was the chief flight nurse, and she said, no, the kid's really sick, we need to go.
Before he leaves, Brad gives his wife a kiss.
And it was kind of funny because she gave me a longer kiss than normal, and I'm sure it was just because of Valentine's. And I looked at her and I said, what do you think, we're going to crash or something? What'd you kiss me like that for? And she's like, don't say that.
Brad arrives at the hospital shortly after 7 p.m. By now, Samantha's temperature is pushing 106 degrees. Time is running out. Samantha's mother, Patty, agrees to take the ground route, but Jack wants to fly with his daughter.
Being a little baby at that point, with all these strangers around her, she was already traumatized enough without, having someone not there that she knew.
He seemed very stressed, and I can surely understand that. I thought that it would be best really for both of them, for Sammy to have her daddy close by, and also for Patty to know that Jack was right there with Sammy.
Just before 8 p.m., Samantha is strapped to a stretcher and loaded onto the plane. Large wet snowflakes obscure the runway. Like most February storms in western Colorado, this one is carrying quite a bit of moisture. But Brad assures Jack there's no real danger.
I was talking to Brad a little bit and I asked him how choppy it was going to be getting up out of the valley because of the storm here, and he said, don't worry about it.
I wouldn't do it if it were dangerous. I mean, yeah, there's an inherent danger there, but come on. None of us would do it if it was that dangerous.
Though the snow is intensifying, 37-year-old pilot Rick Fowler is equally unconcerned. He's been flying in the Western Rockies for more than a decade.
It was something that we'd flown in for years. It's just another day on the job with different weather.
Rick flies without a co-pilot. Jack and Brad sit directly behind him. They face the back of the plane where Teresa cares for Samantha.
My biggest focus was really trying to keep her medications going.
Everybody was focused on Samantha at that time because of the critical situation. She was a little baby that was dying, simple as that.
The twin-engine jet prop Merlin takes off. It's a bumpy ride at first, but the turbulence stops once the plane is above the clouds.
It smoothed right out, and Brad even looked at me and said, see, smooth as glass.
Teresa monitors Samantha's temperature and heart rate while administering antibiotics through an IV. Brad tries to keep the baby's nervous father calm.
Like making small talk with Jack and saying, see how smooth it is, the cold weather, cold air, smoother than hot weather, don't worry about it, we'll hit some mountain wave turbulence maybe, that'll be about it.
But Brad has spoken too soon. About 25 minutes into the flight, nearly halfway to Denver, Brad hears Rick radio for help.
I could hear him talking to Denver Center, telling them we needed to declare an in-flight emergency and tell them how many souls were on board and how much fuel. So I asked Rick what was going on. He said, not now. And I'm like, well, Rick, if there's a problem, we need to know because we need to start planning. We got a really sick, critically sick kid back here. And he said, I'll be right with you. And when he said that, he was really tense.
Rick has good reason to be tense. The plane is at 17,000 feet over the Rocky Mountains, and the right engine has just flamed out.
You can feel the loss of power on one engine, and then the instruments will indicate that the engine's not running, not producing power.
While the plane can still fly, its ability to climb is impaired. If they continue on to Denver, they'll face even higher terrain. Turning back means lower land, but they'll be flying right into the teeth of the storm. Their only hope is an airport in the small town of Rifle, 45 miles away.
Regulation requires that an aircraft in distress or that has a mechanical problem would land as soon as practical. Once the lights of Rifle came into sight, that was a no-brainer.
Rick aims the plane down through the mountain peaks to the tiny airport.
The altitude we got down to was 6,400 feet, which on a normal glide path at Rifle would be about 2 miles out from the end of the runway. Now keep in mind there's high mountains all around this. Kind of a Rifle sits in a little bit of a bowl.
Brad and Teresa strap down loose objects in the cabin in case the landing is rough.
Jack, of course, during this whole time was going, hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on?
He said, well, we got some problems. But that's all he would say. And I said, well, wait a minute, we got some problems.
I'm like, look, everything's fine. It's going to be okay. Lying through my teeth because, you're getting nervous. Things could go wrong.
The Rifle Airport has a limited instrument approach, which means that in order to land, Rick needs to see the ground.
I heard Rick say, is that the runway? And I looked over and I said, yeah, I think it is. And he said, well, it looks like it to me too.
I remember looking over my shoulder and I could see the runway lights, so I thought, right on, this is going to be no problem.
At that point I thought, well, everything's okay. We're just going to land and find out what's going on.
But just as Rick nears the airstrip, the weather strikes. The blizzard that was descending upon Grand Junction when the plane took off has continued east. Now, Rick is immersed in the storm.
And all of a sudden I hear him go, uh-oh, and I look back out and the runway's gone.
Rick had dropped down into the worst blizzard that Rifle area had seen in over a decade. It was like somebody just threw a sheet over the windshield when he dropped down into the storm.
Snow and wind howl around the plane. Rick has to abort the landing.
We've gotten reduced visibility because of the surrounding weather and high terrain all around us, with reduced performance on the aircraft because of the failed engine. So now we have to climb back up out of the valley.
The plane is at 6,400 feet. The mountain peaks loom at 14,000. With one engine, the Merlin can climb at a rate of only 400 to 500 feet per minute.
The ground's coming up rapidly. We're still climbing, but we're in effect getting closer to the ground.
All I can think now is we're flying into the mountains at night with one engine in a snowstorm.
I was so worried because, our restraint system's not built for a tiny child like Sammy was. I wanted to be sure that if we did have a hard impact or a hard landing, that she wouldn't be thrown out of that restraint system.
I looked out to my right and saw mountain peaks go by that I thought I could reach out and touch. And I just turned and looked at him and said, buddy, we are way low. We looked at each other at that point in time like, well, this is it. It's over. We are done.
According to research, parents play an important role in helping children avoid risky behaviors, including smoking. The Parent Resource Center at philipmorrisusa.com offers advice from experts on how to talk with kids about not smoking, and a downloadable brochure on raising kids who don't smoke, with tips on starting the conversation and ways to help kids handle peer pressure. For more, visit the Parent Resource Center at philipmorrisusa.com or call for a free copy of the brochure.
Kids' clothes play hard, and that means nasty, monster stains. Stains you need to pre-treat, right? Wrong. Now stained clothes go right in the wash, thanks to new Spray and Wash Pink. Pour in with detergent to get pre-treating action without pre-treating. Spray and Wash Pink gets out tough stains better than detergent alone. Add the power of pink to your wash.
Do you have a laundry room or more of a laundry closet? Is your wardrobe delicate or a little more rugged? At Sears, we know a lot about appliances and our customers. That's why 2 out of 3 homeowners have an appliance from Sears. We have a better selection than anyone. We'll make sure you find the right one. We'll match any price, plus give you 10% of the difference. Right now, during our Laundry Spectacular, find all washers and dryers on sale. Plus, get 0% financing until July 2004 and free delivery. Sears. Good life, great price.
February 13th, 1992. It's just before 9 p.m., and a blizzard is raging across Colorado's Rocky Mountains. An air ambulance carrying critically ill 2-year-old Samantha Barr struggles to gain altitude with only one working engine. Flight nurse Teresa Bagshaw shoves blankets and pillows around the toddler to protect her from a crash landing.
I'm realizing there are a lot of things that are going wrong now. We're not, able to land it. We're trying to climb out over high terrain. We only have one engine. It's bad weather. The visibility is terrible. So I really felt that at that point we were getting into deep trouble.
Paramedic Brad Brown does his best to console Samantha's father.
He said, "How bad is it?" And I said, "Well, it's not real good." And he goes, "It's bad." And I said, "Yeah, it's pretty bad." And he said, "Do you think we're going to crash?" And I said, "Yeah, I think we probably are."
Jack Barr turns to his barely conscious daughter.
He leaned over and rubbed Samantha's cheek and talked to her. He was fixing to lose his child. He knew that.
What entered into my mind was, we're going to exit this world together. At least, we're going to go together. And she's not going to be alone.
In the cockpit, pilot Rick Fowler is desperately driving the plane upward in an attempt to clear the mountains.
We crossed a few of the ridges on our attempted climb out of the valley. The ultimate problem was there was one last ridge.
Just 60 feet from the top of the ridge, the plane runs out of room.
Just at the peripheral vision of my left eye, I saw trees start to hit the right wing, and it exploded like just millions of toothpicks.
It took off the passenger side wing, it spun us sideways and pancaked us into the side of the mountain. About a 12-foot snowdrift. Instant stop. There was no rolling or anything like that. It was just an instant stop. Everything went black. Everything went silent. And I'm actually thinking to myself at this point in time, this is death.
I just assumed I was dead. I really did. I mean, it was pitch black, completely quiet, and I thought, well, that wasn't as bad as I expected. And then I moved, and I'm like, oh my God.
Brad has several broken ribs and a twisted ankle, but he's able to sit up.
Now the reality hits in that you're busted up and you're on the side of a mountain, and at this point you may be the only one alive. And for that split second again, this fear to shoot through you.
In the darkness, he hears Jack groan.
I'm like, "Jack, are you okay?" And he goes, "No, I'm hurt bad." And I said, "Where?" Because I couldn't see him. And he goes, "My scalp, I'm bleeding really bad." I'm like, "Well, put your hand on it, just hold it."
He said, "Well, you're bleeding a little bit." He says, "It's just a scratch, though." It was a little more than a scratch. I mean, he kind of calmed me down a little bit because I knew I was bleeding pretty bad.
Flying debris has nearly scalped Jack, and his shoulder blade is broken. But his only concern is for his baby daughter.
I'm going to stay alive long enough to get Samantha out of here. That's all I can think about.
Jack hears Samantha move and then cry out. Amazingly, she has survived the crash unharmed. Jack takes his daughter and zips her in his coat, while Brad checks on his friend and co-worker, Teresa.
I could feel her, but she wasn't making any sound. She wasn't talking to us.
Teresa is trapped under the stretcher with a broken arm and a fractured skull. Brad scrambles to pull her out from the wreckage.
And I grabbed her by the hair, and I pulled her head back, and she took this big gasp of air. She could hear her gurgling, trying to breathe.
Teresa gains consciousness, and in spite of her injuries, immediately starts assessing the situation.
She's like, no, don't, there's jet fuel everywhere. Don't turn anything on, don't turn anything on.
I said to Brad, we need to be sure all the oxygen's off and make sure that there's no risk of fire here, because I was very concerned about that.
After turning off the oxygen, they call up to Rick. There's no response from the pilot, and the front of the plane is blocked off. Brad forces open an emergency exit on the passenger side and looks out. To his horror, he sees an immediate drop-off down the side of the mountain.
He screams back inside, nobody move! We're on the edge of a cliff.
I'm thinking, we're going to be a damn toboggan going down the mountain in a minute. I stuck my head out and looked around. I thought, I think we're okay. We're stuck on some bushes, and there's a big bank of snow. We hit hard enough that we're stuck in the snow.
Brad climbs onto the remnants of a crumpled wing and then jumps into the chest-deep snow. He struggles to the front of the plane.
Rick, I hollered, and he was slumped over the yoke, and he wasn't moving. When I just was reaching in to check his pulse or to see if he, was alive, and he wakes up and just sits just bolts upright, and he goes, we crashed, you got to get out. I'm like, Rick, it's okay, I'm already out. Everybody's okay.
Rick has a severe head injury. Brad helps him back to the fuselage.
We didn't think he was going to make it. He was very delirious.
He was just very restless, kept throwing blankets off.
He would come out of unconsciousness and get sick, very nauseous.
So basically, I just tried to keep a real close eye on him.
Rick needs immediate medical attention, and 2-year-old Samantha is in dire condition. She still requires emergency surgery to stop the infection caused by a coin in her neck.
I was very concerned about her status. She still was extremely ill. It wasn't like this crash had helped her at all. I was really worried about her.
Teresa tends to Rick and Samantha. Meanwhile, Brad checks the emergency locator transmitter, or ELT, and gets a nasty surprise. The battery that runs the transmitter is nearly expired.
I'm thinking, this is great. We've lived through a crash, and we got a damn ELT that's not going to work for us, but for about 30 minutes, and the batteries are going to go dead.
The stranded group can only hope that the signal lasts long enough to direct a search and rescue team to their plane. They wait for daylight and pray that their young patient can make it through the night.
She needed food, water, IVs, medicines, We could survive with just water for a couple days, but she needed a lot more than that, so she wasn't doing good. So it was time.
They're thinking, this baby's going to die. Simple as that. What are we going to do with the dad when he freaks out?
Not one of these allergy medicines can give you long-lasting seasonal allergy relief without the risk of drowsiness. But Allegra 180 can. For people 12 and over, side effects are low and may include headache, cold, or back pain. Choose long-lasting relief without drowsiness. Allegra.
Sponsored by Once Daily Allegra. Fexofenadine hydrochloride. For additional important information, visit Allegra.com. Side effects with Allegra 180 milligram for seasonal allergies are low and may include headache, cold, and back pain.
According to research, parents play an important role in helping children avoid risky behaviors, including smoking. The Parent Resource Center at philipmorrisusa.com offers advice from experts on how to talk with kids about not smoking and a downloadable brochure on raising kids who don't smoke, with tips on starting the conversation and ways to help kids handle peer pressure. For more, visit the Parent Resource Center at philipmorrisusa.com or call for a free copy of the brochure.
Good night, oranges. Sleep well, because no one here will ever flavor, freeze, or concentrate you. Unsweetened dreams. Discover Simply Orange. Simply unfooled around with.
Why spend all day on the internet fishing for a rental car? When you can go to Hertz.com. Just click to get great rates and special offers. With Hertz.com, there's no fishing. At Hertz, we know exactly how you feel, so we have exactly what you need.
Tired of all the smoke and mirrors advertising from the satellite guys? $240 early termination fees, contracts, activation fees, partial local channels. The list goes on and on. Now step into the crystal clear world of Insight. Choose the digital cable, internet, or local phone package that's right for you and save up to $35 every month. Call Insight today and get Insight Digital with Showtime plus unlimited local telephone service for just $49.95 for the first 2 months. And installation is free. The choice is clear, crystal clear.
I'm Gary Brown for Brown Brothers Cadillac. Looking for the hard-to-find 2003 CTS? Well, we've got them. How about 100 brand new Sevilles and DeVilles at factory rebates of $5,000 for qualified buyers? Or maybe your heart is set on a new Escalade, EXT, or ESV. They're all available at 60 months, 0% financing. Only Kentucky's largest Cadillac dealer can offer you Kentucky's best selection. Brown Brothers Cadillac, downtown at 4th and Broadway.
February 14th, 1992, 6 a.m. It's been 9 hours since an air ambulance crashed into a snowy mountainside in Colorado's Western Rockies. Pilot Rick Fowler is delirious with injuries to his head. But Flight Nurse Teresa Bagshaw's main priority is 2-year-old Samantha Barr, who is near death due to an infection.
Just to look at her, she was very pale, listless. She didn't respond. She didn't talk. She was very ill.
Samantha's father, Jack, and paramedic Brad Brown try to signal potential rescuers. They turn the emergency locator transmitter on and off.
A, it's going to save the battery, and B, if they do hear us, they're going to know that somebody's alive, and it'll get them a renewed, hey, we need to get something done.
The survivors huddle in the fuselage and listen. Occasionally, they hear a plane or helicopter, but always in the distance. Until 2:30 p.m.
Teresa goes, "You hear that?" I said, "Yeah." And I said, "You think it's a plane?" She goes, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a plane." And I ripped the escape hatch out. Jack jumped out behind me.
I had this green blanket, and I was waving it in the air to try to get the airplane's attention, and Brad had a piece of metal off of the fuselage that had a shiny side on it that he was trying to reflect some sunlight into the pilot's face.
The plane wags its wings, a sign that Brad and Jack have been spotted.
Jack and I both grabbed each other, and we're jumping up and down in the snow, and we're hollering at Teresa. They found us. They found us. We're out of here.
It was very emotional for me, and I knew that we were going to get out of there one way or the other then.
Within 2 hours, the entire group is airlifted off the mountain. Brad, Jack, Rick, and Teresa receive treatment for their injuries at St. Mary's Hospital in Grand Junction. Samantha is rushed to the Children's Hospital in Denver. There, the 2-year-old undergoes surgery to remove from her neck the penny that has been causing her life-threatening infection.
It was a huge sense of relief, definitely, and real rewarding, I think, just knowing that she got through all that and that, she was going to live to be a healthy, young little person.
Today, Samantha is a teenager with no memory of that terrible night. She does have one keepsake, though, the penny that reminds her she's fortunate to be alive.
We shouldn't have made it. There's no way we should have made it. And when you go thinking like that, and you know it, there's not any guess or any doubt in your mind that this has got to be a miracle.
If the Rifle, Colorado airport allows for an instrument landing, why did the pilot need to see the ground? We'll explain when Storm Stories returns.
What time is it? Subaru all-wheel drive time. Time to get it all. Up to $2,000 in customer cash rebates depending on model, and financing as low as 0% APR. Time to get incredible savings on an incredible all-wheel drive 2003 Outback, Legacy, or Baja. That's up to $2,000 in customer cash rebates and 0% financing. Hurry to Subaru all-wheel drive time now, because time runs out July 31st.
Subaru, driven by what's inside.
I love the smell of this new sandwich.
How is it you can smell when you don't have a nose?
What do you mean I don't have a... What? Where did it go? Oh!
Arby's new Market Fresh 5-Star Club. Oven roasted turkey and ham plus 2 cheeses on new hardest white bread.
Nice nose, Oven Mitt.
Thanks.
But how do the glasses stay on if you don't have any ears?
What? I don't have any... I don't have ears!
Arby's new Market Fresh 5-Star Club.
What are you eating today?
Try Arby's new Market Fresh 5-Star Club. What are you eating today?
For the best protection against water damage, one name says it all. Thompson's Water Seal, Wood Protector Plus Waterproofer for the highest level of water protection guaranteed. Thompson's Water Seal and New Advance, the most powerful protection against water damage.
Why do we work?
Why do we get up every day and go to work? Because we make things, fix things, send our kids off to learn things. At the Principal Financial Group, we know you don't just work to retire, you work to live. That's why we give people the financial tools to help them keep more of the money they make and do more with the money they save. You work hard, we make work hard for you. The Principal Financial Group, we understand what you're working for.
Keep it down!
Whatever.
2, 3, 4!
That's twisted. Like the bold, refreshing tumble of fruit flavors in Tropicana Twister. In rocking combos like Orange Cranberry Clash.
They call this noise music?
Twist things up.
This date is going so well, but I'm getting gas. That's all I need. Glad I have the Big Z.
Phazyme. For gas, pressure, and bloating. Zap all three with the Big Z. Phazyme.
That's all I need.
If the Rifle, Colorado airport allows for an instrument landing, why did the pilot need to see the ground? Most airports have a 200-foot cloud ceiling minimum. That means an approaching plane can descend to 200 feet before the pilot needs to see the ground. But the airport at Rifle sits in a topographical bowl with dangerous terrain all around. Rifle's cloud ceiling minimum is much higher. If an approaching pilot can't see the ground by 1,500 feet, that pilot is not able to land. For Storm Stories, I'm meteorologist Jim Cantori. Your local forecast is next.
2 sailors caught at sea during a nor'easter get the ride of their lives. That's next when Storm Stories continues.
Currently, the temperature is 73 degrees with a thunderstorm. Your forecast. Your extended forecast.
We interrupt this programming for a live weather update from the Weather Channel.
I'm severe weather expert Dr. Greg Forbes. Severe thunderstorms are rolling across New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania with damaging winds. We also have some tornado warnings. Severe thunderstorm watches in yellow also include Alabama, where there are a number of severe thunderstorm warnings. Tornado watch in Nebraska, where we have tornado warnings in Chase, Grant, and Cherry counties, and they're just expiring for Arthur and McPherson counties. Now, taking a look at the radar, see big line of thunderstorms with damaging winds, a big threat area all the way from Albany to Kingston to Middletown. We do have within this curly Q here, this little bow echo, tornado warnings for eastern Greene and Columbia counties in these areas south of Albany. Take shelter if you're in those areas. Storms coming toward the New York City area about 9:30, toward Philadelphia about 9:15. That line of thunderstorms extends from Allentown to Reading to Harrisburg. Just about everywhere has severe thunderstorm warnings. Now, storms.
It rocked the plane really hard. You bang into your seat, you bang against the window.
He says, I have to land the plane. I go, but there's no airport.
The visibility dropped, and then went bang, 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 bang.
The right wing was taken off, which then flipped us up on our side.
I was kind of steeling myself for a grizzly scene.
So you close your eyes and just hope you come out of it alive.
From the Weather Channel, this is Storm Stories with meteorologist Jim Cantori.
It's late December 1998. "52-year-old Gert Eberlein, a biochemist from Northern California, is about to take off from Palo Alto to Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Gert, who was born in Germany, has been a pilot for 16 years and has logged more than 1,000 hours of flying time. He and his friend, 53-year-old Becky Rudd, are using his single-engine Piper Archer airplane to go on a special ski vacation.
In the United States, with this incredible scenery you can experience here with huge national parks, flying is one of the only ways to experience this.
It was a feeling of freedom. I mean, you could just come and go as you please. You didn't have to go through stoplights and stop signs and wait for traffic. It was great.
Gert and Becky fly over the Colorado Rockies, then touch down at Boulder's Municipal Airport.
It was a gorgeous day. The sun was out. There was no turbulence. It was a beautiful flight.
Becky's 22-year-old daughter, Natasha, is waiting at Boulder's small airstrip, located about 92 miles east of Steamboat Springs. The three plan to spend the night and fly to Steamboat the next day.
Gert was a very competent pilot. He, never did anything too dangerous and always checked weather and the flight plan.
But as these travelers will soon discover, flying in the mountains brings a special set of dangers, especially in foul weather. One bad decision can lead to disaster. On the morning of December 30th, Gert, Becky, and Natasha head to the Boulder airstrip. The skies in Boulder and Steamboat Springs are fairly clear. But the weather in between these two towns is a different matter. A powerful snowstorm is developing over the Continental Divide, the central peaks of the Rockies, right where the plane will have to pass.
It was extremely windy and this front was hanging over the Rocky Mountains. So we decided actually to take the car and play it safe.
The drive to Steamboat Springs will take approximately 4 hours. At the last minute, the travelers make a fateful decision and decide to fly.
I just saw the plane. It was packed full of things. And I just thought, do we really have to take everything out and put it in the car? Maybe we can try flying. I knew that it wouldn't take us that long, maybe an hour to get to Steamboat. So I'm all for speed.
Before taking off, Gert talks to local flight instructor Martin Bonnick about the best route to take.
The most common place for going to the west side of the Continental Divide from Boulder is over Corona Pass. Unfortunately, they say Corona Pass has some of the worst turbulence of any pass in Colorado. And I remember saying this would not be a good day to go over.
Gert decides to head up anyway, even though he has limited experience flying in the mountainous terrain. He plans to fly west of Boulder over the foothills. If the weather gets too bad, he'll simply turn the plane around.
I figured, we can take off here. It will be bumpy. It will be very, very turbulent. But we can look whether we see the Corona Pass, and if it's easy, then we take this pass.
The weather and the mountains and the combination are very unforgiving to carelessness, mistakes, or too much confidence on the part of the pilot.
At about 11 a.m., the single-engine airplane takes off. Becky sits to Gert's right. Natasha is directly behind him.
We had full headsets on, all of us, and then that way we could hear what everyone else was saying. Not that I really needed to pay attention too much. I was just kind of more along for the ride.
Gert turns the small plane west toward Corona Pass. Though the ride is bumpy, Becky isn't worried.
We've been in turbulence before, and I know that it only lasts for, at the longest, a couple of minutes, and you're out of it.
But as they gain altitude, the turbulence grows stronger. The plane rattles in the 40-mile-per-hour winds.
It was rough. It was hard to set the radio because you have to touch the dials and with your hands flying up and down.
I was supposed to be the navigator. I couldn't even find the spot on the map. The pencils were flying all over. I had a pair of glasses on. The glasses were on the floor. I had never been in strong turbulence such as that day.